Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So today we've got something special today. As a matter of fact, actually, let me get my trusty watch here. There we go. Sorry, I had to stop time for a bit, and that's sort of the theme of today's video here. We're covering two stories that, oddly enough, are the same but not. So today we're going to go over the Don Rosa story on Stolen Time and the Ducktales episode Time Teasers. These two episodes, well, these two stories, have a couple of things in common, namely a watch that stops time, or rather, an invention by Gyro, stolen by the Beagle Boys, that enables them to rob Scrooge. Pretty much, that's kind of it on the surface. Let's go sort of into the details about them in sort of a rapid fire progression. So let's start with DuckTales first. So, the nephews find out that Gyro has invented what he calls a time teaser. Now, what Gyro says is very specific here. He says that he's moving so fast when he presses the button that everything appears to be frozen. All right. From the nephew's perspective, Gyro disappears. All right. Gyro says with his time teaser, no one will ever miss a TV show or an appointment. The nephews borrow the time teaser to get the deliveries done they have for Gyro, as well as hoping to see the Mallards possibly win a game. The nephews then use the watch to help the Mallards finally win a game. They hope, and hopefully still get there in time. In the course of the events, though, they stop the Beagle Boys from committing a crime, and they decide to go to rob Scrooge. And as the nephews get there to the money bin and show Scrooge the time teaser, Gyro shows up there to explain how it works, and the Beagle Boys take it and they rob Scrooge. And over the course of that, the watch breaks. They get sent back to the year 15 or 1687. For some reason, I can't remember that. One musical number later, they're able to delay the pirates long enough for Scrooge and Gyro to get the time tub and get them all back to the present day. That's pretty much it. How does On Stolen Time work? Well, on Stolen Time, Gyro reveals that the Beagle Boy stole his stopwatch, and he says he'll be able to stop time. All right, within a 10 meter, anything with outside of 10 meters will be frozen in time. That's pretty much it. The nephews come up with a plan to trick the Beagle Boys so they can get within that 10-meter radius and stop them from using it. And over the course of the adventure, they travel through a world frozen in time, effectively. And over the course of the adventure, Donald finds the hideout, Scrooge comes up with a plan, and they stop the Beagle Boys and break the stopwatch. Really, you kind of see how these two stories are a lot alike, but they aren't. There's some key differences, and not sort of key differences with, like, say, Earthquake and Land Beneath the Ground. Those are very much the same stories, just told differently. Like, Earthquake is DuckTales adapting Land Beneath the Ground. Going by the interviews, or at least the notes Don Rose left in the omnibus for On Stolen Time, it's clear he didn't see the episode, or at least he doesn't bring it up. He brings up the fact that he's always liked the idea of stopping time, as even as a kid. He mentioned stuff like the Twilight Zone and sort of other things from that. And he comes to the conclusion that, hey, I could finally do that. I can tell that story. That's good. And in his notes, he also mentions that stopping time seems to be a bit ridiculous, that stopping motion would make more sense, because logistically, how does that work? How does Gyro's watch stop time? Is it just, like he says, anything within 10 meters of the watch is unaffected by it, but does that mean that the stopwatch stops time just in Duckburg or the entire planet or even the universe? He felt that was a bit much. Ultimately, On Stolen Time is more about what happens when time stops. So even something like a butterfly is just stuck there in its position. So it's like if you run into it, it'll actually hurt you because it's not moving. Objects can't be moved because time is stopped. If time is stopped, nothing moves. Rose is playing around with that idea. Time Teasers doesn't play around with that. It just goes with the idea, as Jaro says, when I press the button, we move so fast that everything appears frozen, but it's not. So realistically, what happens there is everything is still moving, but they're moving faster, and we don't get any idea of any sort of limitations to that. But it's also weird because when it breaks, they're moving so fast that they go back in time. Like, when the Beagle Boys break the time teaser, they end up going back in time. So they went so fast that, I guess, but they didn't go anywhere. So that's sort of like, if you think too much about time teasers, it doesn't quite make sense. There's not as much thought put into it. So maybe Rosa did see time teasers, and like, I can tell a better story than that, but didn't really think about time teasers as he did. Like, Rosa never worked on an episode of Ducktales. He wrote, I believe, I could be wrong, um, a comic story for them that I think was in the Disney Afternoon magazine. So he's never actually written an episode of Ducktales. He's not a big fan of Ducktales. He doesn't hate it, as far as I can tell. He's sort of like, yeah, it exists. It doesn't, I think, do a good job of telling Parks' stories, but it is what it is. Depending on which one you like, oh, that's all over the place. The real strengths of time teasers is the Mallards baseball game.
I want a girl just like the girl who married dear old dad. She was a girl and the only girl that Daddy ever had. I want a girl just like the girl who married dear old dad.
Like watching, like when the nephews have the time teaser, they actually sort of utilize. They can move stuff around. They help the Mallards gain a lead in the baseball game. And then we see them thwart the Beagle Boys in their attempts to rob the baseball game. So that's actually the best part of it, creatively speaking. And of course, there's the Beagle Boys singing.
I want a girl just like the girl who married dear old dad. She was a girl and the only girl that Daddy ever had.
That's kind of it for the most part. I think a big flaw of time teasers is this story starts off with the nephews finding it. Huey, Dewey, and Louie have this problem where they don't seem to have time to do what they want to do and what everyone else wants them to do, which is the great issue every individual faces, but especially 10-year-olds. All right. So it seems like it's going to be their story, but legitimately, once the Beagle Boys take the stopwatch, take the time teaser, it's no longer their story. It's now we got to get the money back. They don't have any decisions or ideas or anything to contribute to it. They do a little breakdancing, and the end is funny because they kind of deserve that. But really, no. They're in the back seat. They have better stories against the Beagle Boys. There's Catch as Catch Can, that entire story. Anytime the nephews go against the Beagle Boys, that's fun. There's The Money Vanishes, which I think is really good for the nephews versus the Beagle Boys. But this one isn't it, honestly. On Stolen Time keeps its focus where it needs to be. Like, okay, so the Beagle Boys have the stopwatch. All right, so a lot of jokes come from that. Like, there's a bit where whenever they stop time, first of all, it looks frightening the first time. When Donald sees the Beagle Boys are there, they're gone. They're there, then they're gone. That's something really good. So we don't get a lot of seeing other people react to it. Because, well, how do you react to time stopping? It's weird. It's sort of like if I did and I'm wearing something different. Like, it's weird, okay? But that works for the story here because it's a comic. We can just stop it. There's this really cool thing Rosa does where when time is stopped, the panels are all surrounded by yellow. I'm not sure if that was in the original. Actually, I should know that. I think I do have a physical copy of that, but I think that's a reprint either way. So I'm not sure, but having the panels be outlined with yellow is really cool visual way to show, okay, time has stopped here, in case you didn't know or you forgot. And watching them climb on top of pigeons, how the grass is now sharp blades, how even candy wrappers can cut the skin, this is all really good, really creative. Rosa really is sort of trying to explain exactly what this looks like, what it looks like to go in a world where everything is frozen in time. Yeah. That's good. And again, that focus is there. There's no fun gimmick. Okay, oh, now we're stuck with pirates. Okay, like, no. As well as the fact that my early critique of time teasers was the fact that this is no longer the nephew story. It just isn't. By starting with the Beagle Boys already having the stopwatch, now the entire focus is how are Scrooge and company going to deal with the Beagle Boys. And we revealed it. Huey, Dewey, and Louie come up with a plan. All right, Donald improvised the plan, and then Scrooge ties it all together. That entire story, everyone is doing something. Even Gyro has something more to contribute other than, like, hey, they took my watch. It's small, but everyone is doing something. So there's that. Gyro, in Time Teasers, Gyro pretty much exists to explain how the watch works and how to go back in time. And these are all important things, but you also sort of get the idea that Gyro hasn't quite realized how stupid it was that he made this thing. But to Time Teasers' credit, Time Teasers is still fun. Also isn't the first time we see the Time Teaser, or the stopwatch, whatever one you want to call. In the 87-cent solution, Glomgold finds the Time Teaser and uses it to make everyone think Scrooge is losing his mind, and ultimately killing him. And it gives us one of the best scenes Glomgold's ever had, and sums up everything I like and don't like about D17 in one glorious moment. Play it.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and remix, everybody hands go up, and they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. I win!
I love it and I hate it all at once. I do. In that one, the Time Teaser is sort of a means to an end, but, and I will say this, it does a better job of using the Time Teaser than the 87 Ducktales did. Like, the Time Teaser is playing a role here, and once you realize this is what Glomgold's doing, it's actually a much stronger episode because of it. Also, one of those rare moments where Glomgold's intelligence is actually frightening. But who knows? So let's freeze it again. Ultimately, where your mileage is on these stories kind of varies. I would say I like Rose's approach. It's a tighter story. Each moment you see is here to further the story. There's no weird twists and turns. It is exactly what it says it is. If you like the sort of craziness of Time Teasers, as the episode with, like, hey, this just started with the nephews wanting to manage their time better, like have more time for themselves. I think that's fine. But honestly, I do have to give some credit to D17 for this. Using the Time Teaser as sort of a reveal at the end was actually a really good idea. So I would say, personally, I would go Rosa to no one's surprise. Again, tighter story, it just works better. D17, and then the 87. Sadly, it's at the bottom for this one. But that's my thoughts on it. What do you think? Which one's your favorite? You like to hate? What would you do if you had a stopwatch Time Teaser? Fun fact: I reviewed this story with Mark Severino on the Rose Remarks podcast. So don't be afraid to check the story out on Stolen Time on the Rose Remarks podcast. This is Bucket Clinton signing off. Thanks for watching as always. May your fandom serve you well.